Sean, what's up, man? Thanks for making time with us.
Great to be on with you guys, man. What an honor to be this show, and you actually bring a mere minion like me on. I appreciate it, man.
Oh,
Always
man,
good to
stop
talk to
that.
you. BMitch, good to talk to you too, brother. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good, man. You been golfing lately?
Come on, man. Once I'm done with you guys, I'm doing the same thing today. I got to get a handicap where I can at least compete with somebody like you. So yeah, I'm practicing.
Sean, B and I played this weekend and we lost to London Fletcher and CJ. So it wasn't that much fun.
We gonna get him back.
Well,
Jay.
we got to fix that, man. you let a linebacker handle you guys? Come on now, Mitch. I know.
Now we got this guy that says a 7, but he plays more like a scratch.
Yeah, but Fletch did get hot on the back.
Oh, so what a shock. He milks the system.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a 7. Then he shoots 68. Yeah, my kind of guy, right?
Sounds everybody in DC is just going nuts. Commanders are 7-2 and have a quarterback that looks like the absolute real deal. What have you thought watching Washington so far?
I love him, and I've loved him. I go on in New Orleans every week. Guys have for like a half a dozen years in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and watching him when he came from Arizona State, which I saw him as a Pac-12 guy, right, when he was a freshman. And he's got, we see guys that'll play well, and then you say, man, are they – and I'll use Trevor Lawrence as an example, who I think is a really talented guy. But the inconsistency, has he gotten better? You know what I'm saying? That we see sometimes. And I watched him when he got there with Brian Kelly the first year. He was, he did some good things, but was not taking shots, was very protective of the football, played a lot of horizontal football, and didn't push the ball down the field. I'm talking about Jayden. And then he spent time in the offseason. They came back the next year. And he became one of the best deep ball throwers the next year, his Heisman year, that we had in the country. And it's continued. What I mean, he's gotten better every single year at some phase of his game, and then at all phases. And so when I was watching him last year, he was college football's best player. He was. And then you say, okay, a dual threat guy, how are you going to utilize that at the next level? Well, when you're that talented, and then you put in the most important thing, aside from the leadership, people are magnetized to him. He is a guy that you saw that, listen, there's a few bodies that'll come in, and we saw it here, and that's why it's kind of cool here. We saw the same thing happen with Stroud here and D'Amico Ryans. They come in, there's accountability. Look what Dan Quinn's done. Look what Kingsbury's done with Jayden Daniels, a guy who gets offense. And then Jayden Daniels just keeps getting better and has worked on his craft. And now the similarities, now he's better with his feet than Stroud, but the way that they make players around him better. If somebody's hurt, they still elevate their play and others elevate their play. And that's not by chance. Mitch, you've been with these. You see this. These guys that come in and there's accountability, and all of a sudden you just expect it from other players because you know he's going to deliver. I love him. And then the one thing, accuracy, you either got it or you don't.
True.
We can improve it as coaches, and if you're a 58% guy, we can get you to 62. Rarely are you taking it's going to be hard to take a guy like Richardson as a 46% thrower and make him a 68% thrower in his career. That's just hard to do. That's 20 percentage points. So with this guy, he can complete 65% blindfolded. So I love him. This is not by chance. This is and look what he's doing, distributing the football. And now the defense elevates because they know we're not worried because he can match it and score. The ball rarely hits the ground. I love him, man. I do. And I love what Washington's doing. The whole culture change in the building with a couple guys, and now look at it. It's permeated through the entire building. And I think that they may not be the most talented roster in the division. That may be Philadelphia. But for my money, the best quarterback in the division resides in Washington, and the best team in the division for consistency, I think it's the Washington Commanders.
Well, I think when you looked at it, even in the first preseason game they played, he checked off a play and threw a 40-something-yard pass, and they were like a little mad at him because they were like, we didn't want you to do that right there. But the kid understands the offense. He knows it. How much easier is that for a coach to be able to implement what they need when you have a guy who's going to do the work anyway?
Mitch, I love that too. And you know what I like to? He got the balls to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of rookies come in like, well, coach, it's a call it and run it. We're not, the hell no. I always say beg forgiveness rather than ask permission. And you go and say, and I've always said, in coaching players, I said, as long as you can come to me on the sideline and tell me why you threw it there or why you did it. If you come over there with that Brooke Trout look, giving me like, I'm not sure why I did it, then I got a problem. But if you walk over to me as a rookie or a 10-year veteran and say, I saw this, this is why I did this. As a coach, I can accept it. And you know what? Even though maybe you're talking about, man, a rookie, what's he doing this? In the private meeting room with the coaches, they're like, I love this guy. Right off the bat, he's taking charge. It's like that guy, that hits everything that moves in practice. He's a rookie, and he gets kicked in practice, safety, dude, you can't keep doing this to our players. And then they go watch the tape of practice when they're sitting in the coach's meeting. They're like, we got ourselves a baller. That's how you feel about this. So you want that, and I love it because football IQ, and he's done nothing but continue to work on it. You can't do what he's doing and not understand not just the good things you do, but understand on the offense, but understand the defensive side of the ball where you understand coverages. And it's hard because most rookies, hell, you're just scrambling around trying to get your own verbiage out of your mouth when you're playing. But he has a great sense of what's going on, and you can tell, even if we're not in the meetings, by how quickly the ball gets distributed to a bunch of different bodies. If you're a receiver I don't believe in decoys, and if you're a member of the Washington Commanders wide receiver team, I'd expect the ball on time and ready, or you're going to get hit in the face and with accuracy, and everybody's up. They have found a guy who he's a rookie of the year, no doubt. I don't know how we're not throwing him into the Goff, Lamar, Derrick Henry category as an MVP candidate, because I can tell you this continues. It's okay. Jim Brown can't be the only rookie that ever wins MVP and Rookie of the Year in the same season. I love what he's doing.
He's just been so good and so poised and so composed. We're talking with Sean Salisbury here. Sean, you can follow him at Sean Unfiltered. Of course, check out his radio show, everything Sean does down in Houston. Dude, one thing that I perhaps hasn't been talked about enough, when you go back and watch these Commanders games, how impressed are you by their offensive line?
Well, to me, that's, and Mitch can tell you this as well. I see, look what's happening here in Houston, just as the comparisons are pretty relevant to both teams, is that in the run game, they're dominating people. In the pass game, there's nobody who's putting their quarterback in worse situations protecting the passer than the Texans right now, which is odd. Last year they protected the passer, couldn't run. Joe Mixon comes, and Joe's a grown-ass man in football playing Jesse, and they've elevated that part of their play. But they're just not blocking simple stuff, right? In Washington, I think Washington, Detroit, look what they're doing. They're keeping their passer upright. They're allowing you to get in and out of plays. They're giving you time to throw, and they're also not the simple stuff, passing off and making sure that every guy, and I'm convinced, everybody talks about quarterback receiver, the camaraderie, which is important, but a curl's a curl's a curl. A post is a post is a post.
Right.
Five guys, the unison you must have, those linemen have to be like the synchronized group of swim. Honestly, the right guard needs to know what the center's doing, and all the direction of going. And then the quarterback needs to understand while he's directing it, how to keep them slide the line one way, change protection if the center's not doing it, all those things. I think aside from the quarterback's accuracy and the culture change, I think the biggest reason in the building that's happening, you want dogs and you want guys that are nasty and mean and angry up front on the field. Nicest guy, offensive lineman, you feed them a hot meal, pay them and tell them how great they are if you're the offensive coach. They're good, man. They don't need a whole lot of praise. They they look like old, now I'm not saying they're the Hog Squad, but they look like old school Bronco, Raider, Washington, Detroit's offensive line, the way they're playing. And I'm going to tell you, regardless of how good the quarterback is, if that guy's not upright, things change, and they can run it, they can play action it, and they seem to have a pretty good idea of what the defense is trying to do and how to combat it. You got to find the conflict, and once you know the conflict, the rest is easy. They're playing about as well as you can play in the NFC, and that will be what sustains them offensively. I already know the quarterback can play. Yeah. That offensive line staying healthy, the Washington Commanders, and it's not just getting to the playoffs, which I know everybody, man, what are we doing here? Washington's a historic franchise. They expect to win, and now with this quarterback, just like they did here last year, the turnaround, once you get in, it's not just one and done. They want to have a chance to extend this, and right now, I know we're a ways away from that, but sitting where they are right now, we could have expected better team this year. None of us thought 7-2 with a rookie quarterback, and a new head coach and a new coordinator. And none of us thought this was going to happen. But quick study, man. The offense, and they buy in. You got to have buy-in if you're going to be successful. And they're buying into what Cliff on offense and what Dan's teaching them overall as a football team.
That right there, when they hired Dan, there had a lot of people wanting to have Ben Johnson. But one thing about coaches, when a coach can motivate, and a coach, I always say, if a coach can have you buy what he's selling, get you to do stuff that you don't want to do, all of a sudden that coach is a damn good coach. And Dan has been that thus far. You've had any crossings with Dan, and what are your thoughts of him?
Well, no, I obviously followed him closely. I've never had to sit down and talk to him, but I sure have talked to a lot of people from Cowboys, Seattle in the past about, and in Atlanta, who he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can see it. And you are 100. There's that fine line, Brian, and that you know about, that being a player's coach to where you don't have accountability, but being a player's coach where guys trust you, that between upstairs and downstairs in the office, that you can, what you tell them is true.
Yep.
But there's still, when they walk into your office, there's this feeling of, oh man, I don't know, is coach going to start me? What's wrong? You want that respectful fear that you had that we all have for our parents.
Mm-hmm.
If that, my dad, well, they love you. When they call you in, it's like, did I do something wrong? Am I doing the right thing? And you mentioned it. Great quarterbacks, great leaders, great coaches. They get you to believe you can do something you can't, and they get you to want to do something you've never done.
Yep.
That to me is, and when it's not popular, you guys know this, to be a leader, because part are going to love you, the other part, but when you get guys who haven't bought in that do because they trust what you're doing, that's a big part of it. And hey, listen, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance at times, you got to be able to baffle them with BS. And I'm not saying that's the case, but every now and again, you got to be able to convince a guy that's having one of those days, and you're still a good player, dude, we're going to be okay, and believe it and have them believe it. Leadership's huge, but buy-in to me, when you can get a roster buying in and there's no cliques in the locker room, that's a big thing. And Dan Quinn's got it. And you see him, when he was in Dallas, hat back, because he just gets it without you taking him for granted. It's a hell of a start to his career in Washington. And it doesn't hurt that when he turns the ball over to the offense, they're pretty damn good. It
certainly doesn't hurt. We're talking with Sean Salisbury here. Give him a follow at Sean Unfiltered. One dude, I don't know, but I could see you having a relationship just because he's a Texas guy, is Cliff Kingsbury. What do you think of Cliff? Clearly the connection he's made with Jayden and just the offense they're running.
Well, everywhere Cliff goes, now I know that, as a head coach, and we all know that it's tough. You go to places and the expectations, and if the guys, you got to have talented rosters. You can have the greatest coach in the world if the roster doesn't have talent. We all talk about getting guys to buy in and elevating their play. If you don't have talent, you're going to end up either getting fired. If you do have talent, you may get a pay raise. And then the guys with talent that can't do it, then you got a problem. Well, Cliff's always, we talked about Jayden's ability to go to the line of scrimmage and take some chances, or have the guts to do it. Kingsbury's got that as a coach.
Yeah.
And he's going to get another opportunity at some point in time to be a coach, whether it's in college or the NFL. And sometimes the second or third time around works better we've seen it with a lot of coaches. What I do know and have talked to him is that he's not afraid, and he will put his offense in the best position to succeed. We look at Lincoln Riley at SC, struggling as a head coach, but he goes somewhere as a coordinator. I guarantee they're going to score. That's just the way it works. And I love the way some guys just got it when it comes. We know that as a player, but as a coach. And then when you're a head coach, leadership, and you become you almost have to babysit at times. Cliff's doing what he does great. And Brian, guys, to me, the best when a coach comes to, when I talk to coaches that have been assistants, coordinators, and head coaches, you know what they tell me they miss most? Head coaches, they miss the relationship in the room with their quarterback group or their receiver group or their linebacker group, because you're removed from it as a head coach because you're kind of the CEO and overseer. Cliff's where he is, the relationship. He can relate to the guys that's by him, but he also is willing to take chances. And I think quarterbacks love that, especially when you got a guy you couldn't take those chances with me because I ain't RPO. I'm handing that bitch off. I ain't running it. Okay, but with him is that you got a chance to. He expands the bandwidth. Yes, I can get you horizontally. I can get you vertically. And when I put him in a position of it's 3rd and 8, dude, be smart with the football, he's accurate with the football. So I love Kingsbury. And right now, Washington loves him too. And you're going to deal with the Ben Johnson stuff every year of, okay, is my coordinator in Detroit going to leave? Cliff will get some inquiries when it's over. But, man alive, it's a great way to rebuild your resume on a good rostered team with a head coach that lets you do your thing. And I love that Dan Quinn hired him and is staying out of the way.
Yeah.
He's sticking the head coach and coaching defense. And if you're going to hire a guy, you got to empower him and trust him. And if they don't, then you hold him accountable. Cliff's doing everything right. And like I said, it doesn't hurt that he's got guts, but also that he's got a quarterback that validates what he does. It's perfect for what Kingsbury wants to do.
Totally.
Because you got to be accurate and the ball's got to come out on time. And what he does, and they're doing that right now in Washington.
Well, and it doesn't hurt that Cliff's still making head coach money from Arizona.
Yeah. Hey, when they say house money, that's house money.
Totally.
It's a lot of it. And then it's not like he went and he said he got some hack that took over for. It's like, I get this guy. Oh, okay, yeah, I can. Let's see. I had Caleb for a minute as a coordinator with then I had Patrick Mahomes and Kyler at times when he at his best and at his worst. And now I get to go to Jayden Daniels. Tell you what, Cliff Kingsbury's living right, dude.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, even though he lost that job, he's living right because he'll get another opportunity. But you know what he didn't do? Pout about it. He waited for the right opportunity, and Dan went out and got him because he knows they'll move the football, and it's efficient football when you got a guy who can do it like Jayden Daniels does. Right now, it's the perfect storm going on for Washington. I know there's a long way to go, but better to be 7-2 than 2-7, right, fellas?
I ain't learned about
totally.
that. Hey, we've seen those years.
Yeah.
Well, ain't no doubt. It's been a long suffering, and that's a great football town, fellas, as you know, and it's kind of nice to see them. Football's better when Washington's winning. It just is.
Certainly here is. Sean, thank you so much for
Appreciate
the time,
you, bro.
dude. We really appreciate it.
Finn and Mitch, always great to be on with you two, and anytime, and keep it up. Enjoy this run, man. It's a fun watch.
All right,
Thanks,
bro.
dude.
Take care, man.
It's been
Thanks,
fun.
guys. Appreciate you.